Man, oh man, I had some videos that I was going to make today about Sean O'Malley, about Luke Thomas. I had some really great ideas relevant and related to upcoming fights that were going to be very informative. But instead, again, this came across my feed and I had to cover it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the 10-7 MMA channel. And we are back to beefs. And I have to say, I do love a good beef. And this one is a recycled beef going back to an old school Michael Bisping versus Ariel Helwani beef that kicked off not too long ago. I think back in June of 2024, somewhere around there, around the Conor McGregor fight that was never to be against Michael Chandler. So Michael Bisping, I guess about a week ago, I missed this apparently, but he had some harsh words once again for Ariel Helwani, which I was surprised by. And I'm going to tell you why as we go through the entire beef. But I am going to start this video by rehashing the entire ordeal, the entire beef, how it began. And I don't have a clip of this, but I can tell you before this purported beef began, Ariel and Bisping had a great relationship. In fact, Ariel's talked about it. Ariel's talked about he was the one that he gave him a call at one point to push for a particular title fight, which is how eventually I think he became champion, something like that. Ariel has talked about that on a show before. He's also talked about Michael Bisping in a very glowing way. I remember when he was battling with Brendan Schaub, he said, wow, Brendan, you're talking negatively about me, but you're having trouble selling out a show. But look at Bisping instead. He's going out there, did his first show, sold out a 10,000 person stadium or arena or theater or whatever it was. So he was going at Brendan Schaub with some Michael Bisping facts. So again, their relationship was in really good standing. And then I will tell you that Bisping started to kind of pick at Ariel randomly. It's not as though they had a falling out, and I don't even know what happened. I don't know why Bisping was doing this. I can only speculate, but maybe he was watching more of his interviews and started to dislike him for whatever reason, or maybe being more involved in the UFC as a commentator and a broadcaster. He started to feel a certain way about Ariel. I don't know exactly what happened, but something seems to have frayed the way that he looked at Ariel, and it all came to a head when we had the McGregor fight being scheduled for June of 2024. And then all of a sudden they pulled the pre-fight video of him and Chandler down from YouTube. And everybody started freaking out and panicking and speculating that maybe the fight was off. And Ariel obviously was a very close relationship with Conor McGregor and his camp. He was making some statements going back and forth. So this is the beginning of the real public beef as it began, where Michael Bisping had already been poking and jabbing at Ariel, but this is where it really came to a head. So this is where it began. Michael Bisping just going off on Ariel Helwani for his reporting and coverage of the first Michael Chandler Conor McGregor fight from June of 2024. Check it out.
I see Ariel Helwani's out there, right, and he's posting and he's tweeting. A lot of the time he's posting and tweeting like he's an expert on everything, but he knows nothing. He's putting feelers out there. But Ariel also is the type of guy to be calling managers, agents, fighters, coaches, sparring partners, because that's what he wants to do. That's his badge of honor. He likes to break news. Do you know what I mean? I'm much like you or anyone.
And Michael Bisping almost says that with a look of disdain, like he's calling everybody trying to figure out the news because he wants to break the news. So just two statements I want to make on this. Number one, well, he is a journalist, and even if that's what he was trying to do, I wouldn't fault him for it. But number two, Ariel has talked about this in response, and I just got to defend Ariel when this is clearly, I just don't want it to be a mischaracterization, but Ariel himself said, look, I'm not really in the business of breaking news. He will break news when the time is right, but that's not his main go-to. He's not trying to be the first anymore. He's more reporting on it when the time is right, but he's more there to discuss, have interviews, talk. Like that's more his thing, is the thing that he loves about this sport is getting to know and interview the fighters. So just a little correction. But even if he is trying to call managers and get to the bottom of the story, I don't see why it's such a terrible thing. But anyways.
Else, I obviously am involved with the sport. I'll be commentating this weekend and I have contacts and stuff like that. But if I hear of a situation, I'm not doing investigative journalism, trying to find out, like my life depends on it, and I will risk everything so I can be the one to break it, you know, because who gives a and it's none of your business. Do you know what I mean? What will be. Stay out of it, you prick.
That makes no sense. And I love Bisping, don't get me wrong. That's his job. He's there. He's a journal. That's literally what he is. He's like making fun of him for doing investigative journalism. He's a journalist. He talks about it all the time. He went to, what is it, Syracuse University or whatever. He always talks about the best journalism, sports journalism program in the country. That's where he went. That's where he got his degree. So he is a journalist. But anyways, he goes on this rant and calls him a prick. Okay, let's keep watching.
But apparently he's been doing that. What was the statement from him? Have you got it right there?
I'm going to skip this very lengthy statement. Hold on. Let's pass through it. They just read it and who cares? You guys remember what happened here? Okay, check this out.
But no news.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Again, big long statement, sounding like an expert, but no news. So I did a YouTube video yesterday saying, oh, it's back on. Do you know what I mean? And no,
they ran a promo.
It looked that way because everything.
All right, so they keep talking about how he was going back and forth, and he thought the fight was back on because then they re-uploaded things and so on and so forth. But he takes a shot, a pretty hard shot at Ariel. For I don't really understand. It doesn't make sense to me. Like I did a video earlier this week about MMA Guru 1070 Ariel Helwani. By the way, this is not to mean that I dislike Ariel. I've mentioned many times I think Ariel is unbelievable at his job. I've been watching his stuff for years. I think he's incredible. So I'm not. When I made that video, it wasn't me trying to slam Ariel, and I think that comes across in the video. But here, this is Michael Bisping taking shots at Ariel, and I gotta say what's true is true. I really don't understand where this hatred or this negativity comes from, because I don't think Ariel's ever done anything to him or tried to get him in a gotcha moment. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so that's Michael Bisping throwing those jabs, throwing those shots. And Ariel, as we know, is not shy to respond when somebody calls him out unfairly so, unjustly so. And that's what happened here. Listen to Ariel's response, just again for context.
Hey, shout out to Bootlicker Bisping. That's his new nickname.
And he started calling him bootlicker Bisping because he was saying that he's just coming to Ariel to be in the good graces of the UFC. So he's calling him a kiss up, a bootlicker. And it's funny because people apparently, after Ariel made these comments, because Ariel's got an army of fans, people started calling Michael Bisping in his comment section on the social media bootlicker Bisping. So I don't think he was too fond of that. But anyways, check this rant out.
Bootlicker Bisping. Every time he goes on a show, I don't say a word about that guy. And he goes on these rants about me on his show. He has no idea what my job is, what it entails. He forgets who called him before UFC 199. We used to be really good friends, and all of a sudden, he's decided, like Ali did, it's better to take shots at me when I never talk about him or his content. And he's going on these crazy rants about me. I don't know what the fuck is going on with that guy. But someone sent me a clip of him just going, oh, like so mad. Jeez. Yeah, wee-wees. So mad, so much vitriol about me doing my job. Like, I have to know. The last time I broke any news. I don't want to. I don't enjoy it. But everyone's just sitting there not touching this. I don't know if there are no journalists left. I don't know if no one knows how to do the job. I don't know what it is, but it was just sitting there like a basketball. And so we had to do the work. The work had to be done. And people were saying I was dragging this out. People were saying I wanted this. You think I wanted this? But there's a lot of bootlickers out there, led by Captain Bootlicker himself. It's okay.
So there's the gist of it. He goes on and on as well. But I mean, like, I kind of got to agree with Ariel. I don't feel as though he did anything wrong. Maybe people at the UFC were upset about his coverage of the McGregor Chandler fight. I don't really feel like he did anything wrong. And if anything, he was quite partial to McGregor, and they have a great relationship. So I feel like he was showing him respect. He was trying to convey what he could to the public without betraying any alliances or any private information that was told to him, which I don't think he's ever done in the history of his career, and he's very proud of that fact. But anyway, so this was his response, and he fires back at Bisping, rightfully so. Now, nobody said anything about each other for quite some time, as far as I know. Maybe here or there, little jabs, but I don't remember anything. And I honestly got the feeling that, because I remember I do watch Michael Bisping's show, his YouTube channel, and his Believe You Me podcast fairly regularly. And I remember there was points at which people were trying to bring up Ariel in the live chat or in the comments or something like that. I don't know. And Michael Bisping seemed like he didn't want to talk about him. and this was my read on the situation. Again, it could be slightly wrong, but I felt as though, look, Ariel is not somebody, as much as these guys are fighters and Ariel's just a journalist, Ariel's not somebody you want to get into an online beef with, just like MMA Guru, because he's got the advantage in that department and he will wreck people especially when he's in the right, and he will create the receipts, the correct argument, and he will smash people. He will smash people in online beefs. And I got the feeling as though Michael Bisping didn't want to engage, didn't want to get more negativity thrown his way. So I felt like he didn't want to say anything about Ariel. And I thought that was going to be the end of it. I thought the two were going to go their separate ways. Well, we were wrong. 6 days ago or 7 days ago, he went on this show called Frosh on Fighting. I guess this guy is a professional boxer. I don't know anything about I know a little bit about boxing, but check this out. Michael Bisping doubles down on his Ariel beef. Let's check this out.
There's a guy called Ariel Helwani. He got under my skin a little bit lately with fucking Jake Paul, and I give him some stick because he needed a bit of stick, to be honest.
He's a total dickhead. He's definitely up there as well. See, I don't think about him. I was thinking about fighters. All he does is try and manufacture beef with other fighters, so it makes him look good and it keeps him current. All he does is hate on the UFC. That's like his whole MO. You know,
right.
This is like really unfair. All he does is manufacture beef. I mean, that's just, you can't, it's just not accurate. And I get what he's saying. Occasionally, I mean, there are beefs maybe that arise because of the way he questions people and the types of answers that he might try to pull or yank out of fighters that could be controversial and maybe could rub another fighter another wrong way. So in that way, you could say he drums up controversy. But I mean, in reality, he's doing it. He's making the fights more exciting by doing that. And it's honestly good for the UFC. So I don't even think this is something to necessarily be negative about. I think the times where people get upset or fighters get upset or fans get upset is when he's done things like he did to DDP, where he basically tried to, and people might disagree with this, but MMA Guru called him out on this, where he almost tried to really paint DDP in a bad corner, like he was trying to start some sort of race-based controversy between him and Israel Adesanya. Or he's done other things like that, where he's tried to catch fighters with their words and push them into a corner. But I mean, in terms of beef between fighters and things like that, I think that's part of his job. And now when we talk about him hating on the UFC, obviously he hates on the UFC more than any other fighter, but it's really more about hating on Dana White more than anything. And I know Jesse on Fire and some other folks have talked about this. You have to also understand, I mean, I think he does a pretty fair job of covering the UFC and the sport overall. But at the end of the day, Dana White tried to destroy his career. They tried to get him fired from ESPN. They got him removed from the UFC from one of their events. And he's Ali Abdelaziz has cut him off from all his fighters. He's the biggest manager in the sport. I mean, they have done so many things over and over and over to squash him in his career with what he's trying to do and provide for his family and all these things. And yet he's managed to survive and yet thrive and build his own following, his own YouTube channel, his whole own show, despite all of this. So, I mean, you can't totally fault him for taking the opportunities to take shots at Dana White from that perspective. So it's like, you have to be fair about it. But I don't think it's fair to characterize him as hating on the UFC in particular. Does he beat up on them more than others in ways that I think are sometimes unfair? Yes. I think some of his discussions, for example, of fighter pay, lack a lot of context, that lack a lot of questions that you should be asking. People don't seem to ask, or he doesn't seem to ask about, what is the overhead of the UFC? We don't know. What are their long-term goals? What markets are they trying to grow in? How much money does that require? How much money does their marketing machine cost? So you just think like, hey, these are the top line revenue numbers and they can obviously afford to pay 10 million, 20 million. You can't just do it like that in a vacuum. You have to look at the expenses, the cost of having their executives, their fundamental staff members, the other projects are going on. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. My point is, I think Ariel does overall quite a solid job of covering the sport. Okay, let's continue. Let Michael Bisping continue on his way.
Okay, I'm glad you've confirmed
the UFC.
I'm glad you've confirmed that for me. So he is the biggest knobhead in MMA pretty much then. But is he not in MMA, would you say?
He's not in MMA. He would love to be in MMA. Yeah. He's a journalist that covers the sport, and it's not even worth my breath, because he'll see this and he'll be like, oh, and he'll go and make an hour-long video out of it.
Yeah,
do you know
true.
what I mean? And like, oh my God, it's like,
yeah, you're a bit relevant.
Yeah, exactly. You know, Yeah, because I did a little video a while on my podcast. We were talking, and I made just a little bit of a joke. You know what I mean? So, Ariel knows everything or whatever. I forget what I said. And he started this whole beef, and then he started saying that I'd manufactured a beef with him to curry favor with Dana White because Dana doesn't like him. And I just ignored it because he wants me to bite, so I ignore it. And then he comes out and then he does another video how he's willing to settle the grudge with me. And I just ignored it again. I'm like, bro, there ain't no grudge. You're irrelevant to me. It is what it is. Do your thing. Good luck to you. Couldn't care less. Just shut up.
You know what? He did the same script with me about Jake Paul. Talked about me like I'm nobody. And I'm thinking, who the fuck are you? And then he goes on again. And I thought, you know what? I spoke to my producer. The best way to leave him is to just ignore him. So we've both done the same thing there. So let's not talk about the biggest knobhead, Ariel Helwani, in boxing.
All right, so there it is. There's the summary. They're calling him the biggest knobhead. Michael Bisping saying he's not even in MMA. We got to be fair here. Ariel's been covering the sport of mixed martial arts since, I don't even know. He's been covering it for so long, from the early days with Rampage, with all these guys. I mean, he has been committed to the sport. And you have to be honest. We have to say the truth, and that is the truth. Now, does he cover a lot of boxing lately and a lot of WWE? That's not my cup of tea. No, but that's what he's into. That's what he's passionate about. But the majority of his content is still MMA and UFC focused. So we have to give him him credit where credit's due. To call him the biggest knobhead, I don't know. I know that's a British saying. I think it means like an idiot or whatever it is. But I think those two guys have gone way too far. And I'm all for critiquing anybody and you could critique anyone if you're doing it fairly, but I don't feel that this is fair. That's my 2 cents. So Michael Bisping goes in against Ariel. Will Ariel respond? I imagine, I'm going to say 52% he will respond, because again, he likes to stand up for himself when people are 100% in the wrong and coming at him for no reason. That's what's happening here, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised if we'll get a statement from Ariel, although it has been a week already, so we shall see. But that's my opinion. Michael Bisping, I think, is going off on him unfairly. So still not sure where it's coming from. But let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys think Michael Bisping is in the wrong, or do you guys actually think he's right? Is Ariel a knobhead, as these guys put it? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.